When I was in my early teens, my brother and I used to run around and wander in the woods, go adventuring with two friends of ours. We all had woods names. So one was named White Crow, the other, she was named Swift Fox. And we had tons of fun out there. The adventures are tales for another day, but there was one way that any of us could become the hero of the adventure, especially if it was an overnight. And here's how we did it. If you were the one that got out of your sleeping bag in the cold morning and you gathered up materials and started a fire, you were the hero or the heroine of the story, because everybody else would be watching you shivering, and then they'd get to come out and warm their hands over a fire. Well, flash forward many years later, and this is a technique that I came up with. Maybe other people do this. I haven't seen it before. I call it fire bundles. And this is intended for, it could just be an overnight camp, but it really comes into play if you're doing longer term outings. And sometimes, if we're not really good about keeping a good supply of firewood, it can be tough to get a fire started. It can take a lot of time. We're gathering through materials. It's getting dark. So fire bundles they're very easy to build, and I'll show you exactly how here. And you can make 5 or 6 of these at a time, keep them in your camp. And all you have to do when you're ready for a fire is take out one of your fire bundles, set it onto the fire pit, and start it up. And it will turn into a nice little campfire all by itself. From there, of course, you can add more, but it gets you started. It's easy, it's convenient, and requires only a small initial investment and time in gathering. I'm going to walk us through 2 different types of fire bundles today. You can make these with any of your local materials, but I've chosen to make one here that's going to be a bigger, more robust one that's made out of materials gathered from the field, kind of field forest edge. So this is box elder, which is a species of maple, and there's goldenrod and just other grasses and such that I found. And you can see what I've done is I have arranged these in order from my thickest ones all the way down to my most flammable type materials. And I've also taken the time with some of these to just split them open so that they're going to burn a little bit better. I try to do that with a few sticks in each layer, which will make sense in a moment. The other one that I'll show you how to make is, these are 2 pine boughs, dried pine boughs, that break off easily from the bottom of a white pine tree. And these are marvelous because you have everything you need, basically, for your fire, from your tiniest little whisker thin sticks up here all the way to thicker ones. And it's already graduated for you. So all you have to do is pull it apart and lay out your fire. Another important material for these bundles is to have a bottom layer. This is a piece of bigtooth aspen bark, and that's going to be the bottom of this one. Birch, just some scrap pieces from an old down birch I found, I'm going to use for the pine bough one. Finally, you need some sort of a tying material. Jute fiber you could use. I'm going to use this grapevine for one of them. A trick that one of my students uses right now that he figured out. It won't work with these because they're too short, but he takes a longer strip of birch bark and just warms it over the fire, and as it warms it curls up, and then he can uncurl it and fold it around, and it's a natural hold to hold these bundles together. here's what you do. You take your bottom bark layer, you lay it down, and you're basically building an upside down fire. So I'm going to start like this, in the same way that I do an upside down fire. I'm going to be leaving a little bit of space between my layers, between the sticks in the layer. A little bit of space for things to fall down. Once you get going, it's pretty easy to build. And here's another little trick. This is a piece of hoof fungus, tinder fungus, and you can always set one of these in here, and it gives you a little extra insurance policy in that if for whatever reason your fire didn't take, you could reach in, you'd still have a good coal. Now, when you build these, it's important to remember to give breathing space. So if I really am careful and I tightly pack everything, then I'm not going to give it air. And of course, like any other fire, this is going to need air. And especially because what I'm going to try to do now is tie this up into a little package. It's going to work a lot nicer if there's air built into this structure, because I'm going to squash it down when I tie it. Additional tip is to remember to put your cordage down under there beforehand. I'm going to spread this out a little bit, and there I have a nice fire bundle. It's basically an upside down fire that is ready to go. I can set that into a dry place in my camp, and the next step that we'll try is to set it on fire. Okay, I didn't make you watch the whole process of putting together this one, but again, this one is just 3 materials. It's the birch bark, which is on the bottom, and I've layered it a little bit throughout the structure of the upside down fire. It's white pine, that nice graduated branch that breaks down to create such beautiful layers, and it's a piece of grapevine to hold it all together. And these are just real nice portable fires that you can pick up, you can put in the corner, you can bring them out, and let's see if they start up and how long they burn. One thing I'm going to do when I'm ready to start, you can untie. My grapevine here didn't work so well, but you can untie or you can just leave it. This one I'm going to leave it, but I'm just going to kind of fluff things up and prepare it to show that you can just bring it out, set it down, and go. Nice wind today will do the work of blowing it for me. Let's see if I can steal a little bit of this. And bring it over to this one. And ideally, because these are upside down fires, if I've done this right, I shouldn't have to be messing around with blowing on these or anything like this. They should just go. So I'm going to step back and we'll see how they work. Another benefit of these fires is that because it's ready-made, you can pull it out from wherever you're storing it. You can set it, again, because it's upside down fire, then you can go about chopping up whatever you're going to put into your stew or whatever else you need to do, and you don't even have to worry about your fire because it is conveniently making a nice little bed of coals while you cook or do whatever else you want to do. Go climb a tree. Well, maybe keep an eye on the fire. In addition to being a nice little convenience, these fires really help train us to set good fires that are going to burn well. We have to become very aware of our materials and our placement because we're setting something that needs to be moved around. We have to try to find that balance that we always have to find when we're setting a fire between being compact and stable and between having enough room in it so that it's oxygenated and it can burn very well. You can see the one on the right, the white pine. I mean, that's just lovely firewood anyway, but it was really spacious. It's burning much faster and brighter, less flames. The one on the left is packed a little bit tight, so you can see more smoke emerging from it. And though it's burning very nicely, not too much wind please, though it's burning very nicely, it's not quite the beautiful clean burn that I got on the right-hand fire. As you can see, you've got some nice coal beds here. Both are really hot. You'd definitely be cooking over these. And pretty easy to do. Come back in a little while and take a final look at how they're doing. So that's the fire bundle. Real useful little technique that make life a lot easier in camp. Thanks for watching as always. Let me know if you give it a try or if you've done this before, and love to hear your comments.